Yo guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Babblemouth podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be doing a movie review. This is going to be, I think this is actually the first time we've done a review of a movie. I know we've talked about movies, and I also forgot that I did say that one of the next podcasts we were going to be talking about my favorite video game and my favorite movie. And I guess we can also, we can talk about that in this episode as well, because I don't know how long I'm going to be talking about this. But today, at least to start the podcast, the first thing we're going to be talking about is a movie called The Devil All the Time. It's a movie that was released on Netflix on September 11th. So 9/11, rest in peace to all those people. It was released on September 11th of this year, 2020. It was directed by Antonio Campos. It was a story by Donald Ray Pollock, I think that's how you say it. Produced by Jake Gyllenhaal, Randall Poster, Rivia Marca, Max Bourne, and the screenplay was by Antonio Campos and Paulo Campos. It has an IMDb rating of 7.1 out of 10, which is pretty decent for a movie. It has a Rotten Tomatoes percentage of 64, so that's not too bad. And a Metacritic score of 55%, which isn't great, but it is what it is. So, The Devil All the Time. I don't remember the runtime of the movie. I want to give you guys all of the basic facts before we dive into this movie. So I already told you that. So the movie does have there's a narrator in the movie throughout it. So this is a guy who's narrating certain parts of the movie. And that is narrated by Donald Ray Pollock. Another one of the Pollocks, it seems. They're everywhere. Oh, that's the guy who made the novel. Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even actually, that's crazy. So the guy who wrote the book is the narrator in the movie. That's actually kind of badass. So Bill Skarsgård plays the dad character of Tom Holland's character Arvin, and Bill Skarsgård's character's name is Willard. There's also a young Arvin played by Michael Banks. Repeat that. There's a baby Arvin played by Emilio. I'm not going to be able to say that, but it's a Campos, so it's one of the Campos dudes. There's Haley Bennett is in this. She plays Charlotte. Christine Griffith is in this. She plays Emma. Sebastian Stan is in this. He plays Deputy Lee Bodecker. Sorry. Riley Keough. I think Riley Keough. I think it's Keough. Well, anyway, she plays Sandy. Jason Clarke is in this as well. He plays Carl. Harry Melling's in this and plays Roy. Pokey Lafarge is in this, named Roy. Eliza Scaling is in this. She plays Lenora. Robert Pattinson, one of the other big hitters in this movie. He plays Reverend Preston Teagarden. We also have David Atchison. He plays Erskine. And then we have Mia Wasikowska, regardless, however you say that. She plays Helen. And then there's a bunch of other characters that don't really need to be said because they're kind of just there. They're not really big hitters. But yeah, so those are the main characters. So you got Willard, Arvin, Charlotte, Emma, Sandy, Carl, Roy, Theodore, Lenora, and Erskine, and Reverend Preston Teagarden. Those are pretty much the main. And then Helen. Did I say Helen? Those are the main characters in the movie. So basically, I don't know how long this movie is. I think it was 2 hours and some odd seconds. I think it might have been an hour and 58 actually. It was it was a pretty lengthy film. Just to start this off, I'll give my initial review, and then we'll go into details, and I'll kind of just go throughout the movie because I literally watched this movie last night, and it is a great film. I'm going to rate it personally off of only watching it one time. I'd probably give it out of 10, I'd probably give it a rating of I'd probably say 8.5. It was a pretty good movie. I thought it was a horror film. It wasn't a horror film. There's nothing about this movie that is scary. I guess there's certain parts of the movie that might seem like, oh, this is about to be a horror scene, but it's not. There's definitely some pretty fucked up visuals, and we'll get into this. So we'll get into the spoiler talk here soon. But there's definitely some fucked up scenes that some people might not like, depending on the way of the way you like to think, I guess. But this movie is definitely a lot of God. This is a very God heavy movie. He is the Lord is in this movie quite a lot, and not like the actual not the actual guy, but like he's brought up a lot. This is a very, very Christian heavy movie for sure. And like I said, we'll get into all that stuff later. Very Christian heavy. Tom Holland, fucking fantastic in this movie. Bill Skarsgård's character, fantastic in this. Pretty much everyone was really, really, really good in this. There's no one I can really think of who was like, oh my god, that was so fucking bad. They did not sell that at all. Everyone did really well. And that's definitely going to up the score. The runtime, perfect. It literally didn't need to be any longer. Didn't need to be. It was the perfect length for this film. It probably could have been, I guess. We'll get into the spoiler talk, like I said, eventually. And then I'll explain this into more detail. I feel like it could have been a little bit longer. Or they could have at least fleshed this part out. But there's a part of the movie to where we're going to get into spoiler talk. Maybe just a little bit. I'm going to hint at something. But if you don't want to hear any spoilers, then you're going to want to not listen to this podcast, really at all. And I don't know when I'm going to be done reviewing this film, so I can't even give you a timestamp. But there is a point in the movie when Tom Holland's character and when Tom Holland's character and Robert Pattinson's character are by themselves, and it's like, how did Tom Holland's character even get to this point to where he's actually going to do this to Robert Pattinson's character? It was really confusing because it didn't really show that's what he was doing. And like I said, we'll get into spoiler talk and I'll explain that more. But I feel like there was a massive gap of stuff that is just not there, because it was so confusing when Tom Holland showed up to the church to confront Robert Pattinson's character. It was so confusing. I literally felt so lost. But like I said, we'll get into that later. But other than that's one of the reasons why my score isn't like a 9 is that massive part of the film that's just not there. But other than that, that was the only part of the film that I didn't like. I don't know if there was ever CGI in this movie. I don't think there was. I think everything was practical. Like I said, there's a lot of gruesome. There's not that many. But there's definitely a lot of. There's a lot of shots in this movie that, depending on your liking to gore, you might not like very much. And let's just move into the spoiler talk, because I don't know how to word these things properly without saying 100% what it was. So, as of this moment, we are getting into spoilers. So if you don't want to if you want to watch this film before you listen to the rest of this podcast, please go do it. It's on Netflix. The Devil All the Time. It is one of the most recent films I think that Netflix has released, even though they fucking shit movies out like it's fucking nothing. But yeah, The Devil All the Time. Go watch it on Netflix. Alright. Spoiler warning right now. You have 5 seconds to get the fuck out of here if you don't want to hear spoilers. And we are spoiler territory now. Okay. So basically, I don't remember how the movie opens, but I think it's... Is it that? I think it... I'm just going to go to a part I remember. Because in the beginning, Tom Holland's not in this movie for the first hour. And that's because it goes pretty much not through Tom Holland's character's entire life, but you start off with Tom Holland's... We're just going to call him Arvin. So if I say Arvin, I'm talking about Tom Holland's character. Which, if you've seen the movie, you already know. Which I also thought his name was Russell, but I don't know why I thought his name was Russell. I don't know where I'm getting that from. It might have been the dog's name, but I thought the dog's name was Jack. I don't fucking know now. So, well, if I say Arvin, I'm talking about Tom Holland's character. So this movie pretty much goes through Tom Holland's character's life. So you start with him being a child, but that part doesn't come for a while. So basically, the movie opens with Bill Skarsgård's character. His name is Willard. It starts with him, and he's in the war, and then he returns home, and then he goes to a diner and meets, was it Helen? I think it was Helen. It has to be Helen, because Charlotte, it can't be, is it Charlotte? Fuck, it is Charlotte. Yeah, Charlotte. I don't know who the fuck's Helen. I don't know who Helen is then. Helen Hatton. I don't know who this is then. What the fuck character is this? Oh! I know who that is. Never mind. I was like so confused. Like, you don't look fucking like you were even in this movie. It's just from the makeup. The makeup was... I was looking at someone else. Yeah. We're good. We should be good. And there's one of the Harry Potter characters, the Harry's I guess it would be his cousin, I guess. Harry's cousin, if you know that guy. From the Harry Potter films, Harry's cousin is in this movie, and he was really good as well. He did let's talk about his character real quick because he's not in the movie for very long. But basically, Harry, what is his character's name? I don't even see him on this list. I must have passed it. Let's see. Where is he? I don't even see him. He's not even on the list. I don't remember what his character's name was. Regardless, we're just gonna call him Spider Boy. Let's call him Spider Man because it's funny. Because there's a scene in the movie when if I'm correct, he used to be scared of spiders and like them planting eggs in his brain and his stomach, or so he started talking mad in the church to all these people, and then he like got on his knees and he's all like, I have a jar. He did like some weird shit, and he like opened the jar up and he dumps like fucking 50, like he dumps like 100 spiders onto his face. You know, it's fucked. I was like, that's fucking weird as fuck, bro. That like it was weird. It was mad. It was madness, mate. It was a madness. But then skip a bit of the story because, like I said, this character's not in the movie a ton, and he's not even in the entire movie. Because obviously he's not in the entire movie. Obviously he dies. We're gonna get to that part. He does die. Harry's cousin dies, guys. If you didn't like Harry's cousin, guess what? He dies, even though it's not the same fucking character. But anyway, so he dumps a bunch of spiders, and then eventually it gets to because Helen is she doesn't like have a boyfriend or anything. So eventually Helen marries Spider-Man dude, and they have a child, and that is what is her characters? That was Lenora. So Lenora is then birthed by Helen, and then Spider-Man and Helen, obviously that's their kid. But eventually, for some reason, this is like the baby's like still fresh, like fresh out the womb, fresh. And apparently, at some point, I guess it's pretty easy to assume, but one of the spiders bit Spider-Man's face, which is kind of funny. I'm calling him Spider-Man. He doesn't get powers or anything. Don't worry. He gets bit, and then he like stays in this closet for like 2 weeks or something, so his swelling goes down, because his head apparently like swelled up to the size of a pumpkin because he got bit by one of these spiders. I don't know what kind of spiders they were. They were pretty decent size, kind of like a house spider type, but like a bunch of them. He just dumps on his face. It's fucked. But so eventually he gets bit by one of these spiders. He stays in his closet for like 2 weeks. It's pitch black in his closet, and he's like screaming in this closet. He's like screaming to the Lord. Like I said, the Lord's in this movie a ton. He's screaming to the Lord. He's like, God, give me strength, or whatever he says. And hopefully I don't offend anybody. I'm not trying to offend anybody with this. I'm just trying to explain this movie to you guys. But he's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm not saying he's crazy, but he was crazy. He was a psycho for sure. But yeah, eventually he comes out of the closet, and then Helen's character takes Lenora over to Kristen Griffith's character Emma, which is Tom Holland's grandma. Takes Lenora over to her, and eventually, pretty much what happens is they take the child over to the grandma. The grandma watches Lenora, and Helen and Spider-Man go on a little drive to like the woods because Spider-Man dude is fucking nuts, and he's gonna try and basically resurrect Helen. But I know what you're thinking. Helen's not dead yet. That's the crazy part. So basically, him and Helen go into the woods, and then it was also, by the way, I need to add this. There's this random dude in a wheelchair who's just sitting in the back of the car, which you'd have to watch the movie, but he was at the church when he dumped the spiders on his face. There's just this random character who's playing the guitar and shit. It's crazy. But he's not in the movie really at all. Like, he's just sitting in the back of the car, and then he's gone. And then that's pretty much it. We'll get to that, because I want to explain this in as great detail as I possibly can. So I might go back on my words a couple times. We might redo a couple things. We'll see what happens. It's madness. It's a madness. This movie is a madness. But basically, Spider-Man and Helen, they go into the woods. And the dude who's in the wheelchair, he's not in the wheelchair right now. He's not like, he's in the back of the car, but his wheelchair is like in the trunk. So, but this dude stays in the car. He's not part of this. But Spider-Man and Helen go out into the woods, and basically Spider-Man stabs Helen in the neck with a screwdriver. Literally, he goes in for a kiss. He fucking jumps back, stabs her in the fucking neck. It's a madness. And then she's like bleeding out from the neck and shit. And then once Helen finally dies, she's like bleeding out and shit. She finally dies. He goes over to her body. He's doing some weird fucking shit. He's like, Lord, it's time. Resurrect her. Boom. And he's like slamming his hands onto Helen's dead body. Because he thinks he's going to fucking resurrect this bitch. She's fucking dead. She ain't coming back. Like, he tries it, like, fucking, there's like, for like a solid minute of the movie, you just see him fucking, like, going, and he's getting fucking pissed now, because this isn't working. He's getting pissed at the Lord that he's not resurrecting his wife. And then eventually it cuts to them him and the wheelchair dude driving down the road, and then he's like, yo, you just fucking killed your wife, and you tried to resurrect her. You're going to sound like a crazy person when you tell the police this, because that's what his character was going to do, was tell the police. Spider-Man was going to tell the police that his wife died and some weird shit. He's like, bro, if you tell him this, you're going to look like you're a fucking crazy person. And then eventually they just drive down the road. Then it cuts, then it does a smash cut, whatever the fuck it's called. It cuts, and then the wheelchair dude is alone. He's not, because Spider-Man's not in the car with him anymore. Because Spider-Man's character is with another group of characters, Carl and Sandy. Alright, now we need some context for these characters, because there's like 3 groups of characters in this film that come in and out. They kind of just, all these stories just kind of intertwine. Because Carl and Sandy's characters they don't know Tom Holland's character. That's not for a while. But so Carl and Sandy, let's just do a quick synopsis of these guys. Basically, Sandy worked at a diner, and by the way, Bill Skarsgård's character, I gotta mute. Basically, Bill Skarsgård's character Willard was at the diner where he met Charlotte, but that same day, Sandy met Carl. That same day, it's crazy. It's a madness. They're not connected in any way. Those 2 groups of people, they're not connected in any way, other than eventually Carl and Sandy meet Arvin, Tom Holland's character. That's like towards the end of the film, though, so don't worry about that right now. We'll get into this. It's a madness. This movie is a madness, I'm telling you. So yeah, they meet. Basically what Carl and Sandy end up doing is Carl likes to take pictures, and this is why they're definitely the most fucking crazy people in this fucking movie. Well, not really Sandy. She's definitely fucked. But Carl is the weird fucker. Basically, this is what they do. Is when Carl and Sandy... Because Spider-Man, when his character ditches the wheelchair guy... Because I don't know if I said this, but the wheelchair guy wakes up in the car and... Spider-Man dude's not there anymore. So the wheelchair dude's literally just left in the car by himself. No idea where anyone is. I think his name was Randy. The character's name was Randy. Let me see. Randy. Roy. Is it Roy? Is this him? It's Roy. His character's name was Roy. Okay. Roy. Spider-Man's name was Roy. Alright, so we're going to call him Roy from now on. So he leaves. Theodore. So yeah, Theodore was the other guy. The wheelchair dude's name was Theodore. Yeah. All right, so Theodore's left in the car alone, and he has to obviously just get out. Like I said, after Roy leaves Theodore in the car, you don't see Theodore in the rest of the movie. So his character's anything could have happened. I don't know. He's not in the movie anymore. So yeah, Roy eventually he's a hitchhiker. Basically, Carl and Sandy's characters pick up hitchhikers, take them into the middle of the woods, take pictures of them, because what Carl likes to do. So I need to add this as well. Carl and Sandy are married now. They're married and shit. And basically, what these guys like to do is take a random hitchhiker into the woods. They only take dudes. They only take handsome dudes into the woods. Basically, Carl takes pictures of these hitchhikers fucking his wife. He takes pictures of them, and then after he's done taking pictures of them, he kills them, and then as he's killing them, he takes pictures of them as he's like torturing them and shit. Like there's this one of the last people they do this to, before Tom Holland's character gets picked up by them, is it's just this soldier from Vietnam comes back. And he gets picked up by these guys. And it's so fucked. They take him into the woods. And then basically they have like a scene together. The dude eats like a sandwich and some shit. The soldier dude eats a sandwich and whatever. He's like, yo, let's take some pictures. And then basically a couple minutes goes by. And then it cuts to a scene of Carl sitting on the soldier dude with the dude's dick cut off. And he's just fucking bleeding from his fucking crotch. It's fucked. Like I said, this movie's a madness. A fucking madness, bro. Alright. But yeah, Carl and Sandy take hitchhikers into the woods and kill them. That's what they do throughout the film. That is pretty much all they do. And then you have Sebastian Stan's character, Deputy Lee Bodecker, who is Sandy's brother. So Sandy's the chick who takes people into the woods. She's the chick of that. So, yeah. So, the deputy dude's kind of in the movie. He's kind of in it, but not in it. He's really not in it that much until like the end of the second act and then into the third act. He's not really in the beginning. He kind of is in the beginning a little bit because, but I feel like this movie is just like the way I'm explaining it is like really confusing. I can tell because you have to remember so many characters. Like nothing. You need to watch this film for any of this shit to make sense. Like it's a madness. But anyway, let's move on to the beginning of the film because the beginning of the movie is the first act of the movie is quite fucked. So kind of the end of the first act is fucked. So basically, Bill Skarsgård's character Willard comes back from the war, and he goes into a diner, and he meets a character named Charlotte, who eventually becomes his wife, and then they have young boy Arvin, and then some time skips by, and then they have the child. You don't actually see them like fucking in this movie. There's not really. There's like 2 or 3 scenes where you see them or see people fucking, but it's never Bill Skarsgård's character. All of the fucking scenes are with fucking Robert Pattinson's character. And like I said, we will get into the madness. So yeah, Willard meets Charlotte. They eventually have a child. It skips time to when the child's born. And then they buy a house on top of a hill. And I don't remember what the town's called. But I don't remember where it is. I think Maine? I want to say Maine. I don't know why. I don't remember where it is. But it's a house on the top of a hill. And they have the child. Some time skips by to Arvin being 9 years old. But before we get more into this, when Bill Skarsgård's character was in the war, their commander was I think he was skinned. It looked like he was skinned, but he was like really bloody. I don't know if he was skinned or not. He looked like he was. But we're going to say he was just for the sake of it. So basically their commanding officer was skinned and then nailed to a cross. And this is during a war. Like, it's not like it's like some Apache shit. It's like an actual war. I don't know what war it was. I think it was World War II. It would have been World War II. And it had to have been World War II because I'll explain anyway. Basically, during World War II, their commanding officer was nailed to a cross, and then Bill Skarsgård's character was the person that had to. He didn't have to, but he did. He's the one that shot the commanding officer and put him down. But basically, when Bill Skarsgård came back from the war, and then he had this house, So now we're back to when they bought this house. So basically, Bill Skarsgård's character walks into the woods, and he finds this area in the woods where he decides this is a good spot. I'm gonna build a cross. He builds a cross. Boom. So now every day, Bill Skarsgård's character goes down to this cross and he prays at it. And yeah. Another thing I need to add to this is also while this was happening, the spider thing had already happened. Like that whole situation had already happened before, so you don't need to hear about that again. So at this point in the story, Lenora, the baby of Helen and Roy, the grandma has that baby now. So Helen is dead and Roy is dead. I didn't explain that. Roy gets picked. So Roy's character, Spider-Man, Spider-Man, who's now Roy, because that's his actual character's name. So Roy gets picked up by Sandy and Carl, and they take him to like this lake, and then he's all like, "Yo, I'm not fucking your wife. I'm not doing that." Then he gets on his knees, and then he just gets shot. We're just gonna get past all this bullshit so we can move on forward into the story because we're still in the first act. I am still talking about the first act of this fucking movie. So he gets shot. Roy is dead. Helen's dead. Lenora is now a child without parents, basically. But obviously she's with Arvin's grandmother. So, by the way, Lenora is not... Kristen Griffin... character Emma is the grandma in this film. Lenora is not like blood related to her at all. She was literally handed off so that Helen and Roy could go on a drive for a little bit to get out of the house, and they're going to come pick the child up. But obviously they died. So anyway, basically that's all happened, and then Willard builds a cross. All right. I feel like I'm explaining this so bad. I feel like I'm explaining this movie so fucking bad because we're literally jumping all over the place. Because this literally was what this movie does. Even though the movie explains the shit way fucking better, obviously. Because I'm explaining everything kind of backwards to how it happened. Because the movie opens with the commander. I don't even remember how it opens. I literally don't remember what the very first scene of this movie is. What is it? I don't remember. I'm trying to remember, and I literally do not remember how this movie opens. The only thing I remember is Willard's character coming home on a bus, and he goes to a diner. But I don't remember. I'm fucking so pissed. I don't remember how this movie opens. Oh my god. Regardless, let's just move on, alright? Let's just move on. Eventually in the movie, Charlotte gets cancer. And there's so many parts that I'm fucking... God damn it! There's so many parts of this movie I'm just not explaining right. You need to watch the movie for this movie to make sense. That's literally, I can't review this movie because you need to watch it for it to make sense. It's one of those movies that I can't even explain. Because so many things happen. There's so many things that happen that if you don't watch this part, then this isn't going to make sense, and then that part is not going to make sense because you didn't say that part. There's a part in the movie where Willard and Arvin are praying on the cross, and then these hunters walk by, and they're like, "Yo, let's go over to his house, and we'll fuck his wife," or whatever the fuck. And then eventually they just walk off, and they don't actually go to the house. But eventually, Willard takes Arvin to where these hunters are, and then Bill Skarsgård's character, Willard, beats the shit out of these hunter dudes, and he's all like, "Son, there's some piece of shit people in this, there's some real bitches in this world," or whatever he says. And then, basically, Tom Holland's character that's part of him now. He keeps that in his mind, and then this will come into play later in Tom Holland's character's life. That'll come into his character's like fucking story eventually. The beating the shit out of somebody. Anyway, eventually Charlotte gets cancer, and then him and Willard and Arvin are praying that she doesn't die. It's not working. Arvin is getting pissed. Arvin's getting pissed. Tom Holland's character. Bill Skarsgård's character is getting pissy, and it's a madness. It's a fucking madness. Eventually, Bill Skarsgård's character decides he's going to kill the dog. He's going to kill their dog, and he's going to offer it to the Lord. That obviously doesn't fucking do anything. Arvin gets fucking pissed at his dad. No, he doesn't really get pissed, but he's like crying down at the cross. Ultimately, Charlotte dies in the movie, and this next part I'm going to explain. Everything I'm about to explain happens on the same day. So Charlotte dies. They go home, and someone left a pie at their door. Basically, Tom Holland's character Arvin. We're not even talking about Tom Holland at this point. Right now, all this young stuff right now is Michael Banks' character. I'm talking about 9-year-old Arvin, not Tom Holland Arvin. So Arvin picks this pie up and he takes it inside and he eats this pie and he gets it like all over his shirt and his mouth. And eventually, he gets this realization. He's like, "Yo, I'm gonna bury the dog properly since we buried my mother properly." I know this is when the movie starts to get a little weird because you don't actually see. You see the dad like killed the dog, but you don't see it. It's one of those things where you see him bring the dog into a shed, then it cuts out the shed, and then you just see a gunshot. So he kills the dog. He takes the dog into the woods, and now we're getting into current day. So the dog was already dead. So before Charlotte died, the dog was already dead. The dog died as an offering. Now we're moving. Charlotte died same day. So Charlotte died. They go home, get the pie. He gets all messy. He's like, "I'm going to go bury the dog." Arvin walks down to the cross. And then this is when you see what fucking Willard did with the dog. Basically, he nailed the dog to the fucking cross. So think of like the picture of Jesus nailed to the cross. But now it's a dog. It is so fucked. And all you hear is like flies. Fucking bzzz. You just hear a shitload of flies around this dog. But you also see Willard's character down there. And Arvin is yelling at his dad saying, "I'm not praying anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. I will not pray anymore." And then he walks over to his dad because his dad is not responding to anything that he's saying. So he walks over to his dad. He's like, "Yo, I'm not praying anymore." And he hits him. And then his dad just falls over because his dad slit his wrists and he bled out and died. He killed himself, basically. And so basically, this kid lost his dog the day before, then his mother and his dad on the same day. This kid lost his mother and his father on the same exact day. It's so fucked. And obviously his dog was dead as well, fucking nailed to this cross. But eventually, this is really when the Deputy Lee Bodecker, Sebastian Stan's character, comes in. Because he's the cop that gets called to pick the kid up and take him to his grandma. Who is, where is she? Emma. The grandma character. That's where Lenore is. So now Tom Holland, we're just going to skip to when Tom Holland's in the fucking movie. So the movie skips like 1965 or something. And basically, now Tom Holland's grown up. Lenora's grown up. I don't know how old they would be. I think they're like 19. They're supposed to be like 19 years old. And by the way, Robert Pattinson's character is also not in the movie yet. And this is like an hour and like 10 minutes into the film. We're finally in the second act. And so basically, Tom Holland's in the movie now. They're all grown up. And basically, the film, I believe it cuts to Lenora getting bullied at school. And then this is when you first see Tom Holland, the character. Because he comes over, he fucking punches one of these bullies in the face. I also need to add this. When Bill Skarsgård's character was still in the film, and it was young Arvin, Arvin would always come home with a black eye from school because he would get bullied at school. And then his dad told him, if those bullies mess with you again, I need you to be the one who ends it. And that's also ties to Arvin being taken to when Willard beat the shit out of those hunter dudes. These things are all tying together. And then Tom Holland's character is also it's gonna tie to him as well. Eventually, we're getting there. I'm trying to make this faster because we're already fucking 36 minutes into the fucking review, and I've only talked about the first part of the movie. Trust me, it's gonna go by a lot faster now. The beginning, there was a lot of shit happening in the beginning, and now there's not as many side plots happening. Because in the beginning of the movie, you had Sandy and Carl. You had fucking Arvin, Willard, and Charlotte. You didn't really have Emma. I mean, you had a little bit of Emma and, who else? Erskine. You had a little bit of Emma and Erskine, but not really. Robert Pattinson's not in the movie yet. You had a little bit of Deputy, but that's only when he picks up fucking Arvin. Basically, Arvin beats the shit out of these bullies for Lenora. And one of the things that Lenora likes to do is go to her mother's grave and pray on it like every day. And Tom Holland doesn't pray anymore. His character doesn't do it. He thinks it's a waste of time. It doesn't do anything. And he doesn't pray for the rest of the movie. He doesn't do it ever again, other than when he was a child. He doesn't do it anymore. So they pray. She just likes to pray at the altar. We're going to skip ahead a bit because there's really nothing that happens that you need to know up until Robert Pattinson coming in. So Robert Pattinson's character is going to be taking over for the current Reverend because the current Reverend is like going out of town for a little bit. So Robert Pattinson's character comes in because Robert Pattinson is the boyfriend of the old Reverend's daughter, pretty much. So basically, Robert Pattinson's character comes into play, and they pretty much all of the people who go to the church bring a bunch of items like food. They bring food to the church to welcome the new Reverend. And for some reason, Robert Pattinson decides he's going to roast Emma, which is the grandma character. He decides he's going to roast her for bringing chicken liver, even though Emma, the grandma, she's the character in the town that is known for her cooking. I don't know. It doesn't really come into play ever again. This is one of the parts that is like confusing. She pretty much gets roasted for being poor, and then that's it. Never comes into play again. And then, so eventually, Lenora is she went to pray to her mother, but Tom Holland's character is doesn't go with her this time because Tom Holland's character always goes with Lenora when she prays, and this time he decided he's not, because instead Tom Holland character decides he's going to take on these bullies that bully Lenora. He's going to take them on one by one instead of all at the same time, because when you first meet Tom Holland's character, like I said, it cuts to Lenora getting bullied, and then Tom Holland comes in, but Tom Holland's character takes them all on at the same time. So now in the film, he takes them on one by one. So the first bully is in this bus with this chick, and they're about to start fucking. But then the chick who's in the bus with the bully says, "Go shut that door before we do this." So he goes over to shut the door, but then Tom Holland pulls him out, and he starts beating the shit out of this bully with a pipe. Literally starts boom, boom, starts smashing his fucking, he's hitting him in the chest, but then he punches him in the face a lot. And then and then it cuts to the other two bullies, who I think are twins. I believe they're twins. They're definitely brothers at least, but they're fixing a car. One of the bullies is under the hood, fixing on the engine or whatever, and the other bully is sitting in the driver's seat. And then all you see is in the background, you see Tom Holland's character quickly walk by the door, but you're not. But then all you see then is Tom Holland slam the hood of the car onto the one bully. Then he goes over to the other car door, because the other bully, the bully who was sitting in the driver's seat, gets out. Tom Holland kicks the door at him and knocks him down. Tom Holland takes this paper bag, puts it over the bully's head, because the paper bag thing is one of the things that the bullies would do to Lenora. So Tom Holland takes his paper bag, puts it over the bully's head, starts choking him. Oh, one of the things he did before he had the paper bag, he takes these jelly donuts and he shoves them in the bully's face. Then he does the paper bag. He's like choking him out, and then he's punching the bully in the face with the paper bag on, and all you see is the blood just start coming out of the paper bag. He doesn't kill these bullies, by the way. He doesn't kill them. But basically, he beats the fuck out of these bullies. And he goes over to the other bully who was under the hood. He like slammed the hood on. That bully eventually falls to the ground. He goes over to that bully, puts a different paper bag on, and he does the same thing. He starts punching the shit out of this bully's head. And he like gets up into this bully's face and he says, if you ever bully my sister again, I'll kill you. He like, because these characters have accents in this movie. Because if you didn't know, Tom Holland was born in England, so he doesn't have an Americana accent, you know. So, but everyone had a good accent in this movie, though. Everyone did pretty well. The only one that seemed a little strange was Robert Pattinson's, but even then, his was still pretty good. His just sounded fucking insane, but yeah. I just want to quickly say, there's a character called Erskine in this film. Also, I need to add this real quick because I skipped over this. I went over this part really fast. So basically, when it cuts to Tom Holland's character's birthday, when it cuts to Tom Holland's character, after the Lenora, when he fucking fights all the bullies in the beginning, it cuts to Tom Holland's birthday, and then one of the things that he gets as a gift is his dad's old pistol, and this is gonna come into play eventually. He has a pistol now. Basically, when Willard came back from the war, he gave Erskine this pistol because apparently it was the pistol that killed Hitler. But obviously it's not the pistol that killed Hitler. It was just like a joke they were saying. But eventually Erskine gives that pistol to Arvin. And he's like, this is your daddy's pistol he gave me after the war. I want to hand it down to you now. And this pistol will come back into play in the third act of the film. So back to the bullies getting their asses kicked. Basically, these bullies get beat, and then eventually Tom Holland goes and picks up Lenora's character. But while Tom Holland was beating the shit out of these bullies, Lenora was with Robert Pattinson's character. Basically, what Robert Pattinson, I'm gonna explain what he does because he does this to two girls in this movie. What he does is he convinces these girls that if they get naked in his car, and then they fuck him, that the Lord will forgive them, or the Lord will do something for them if they do this for them. So basically, he goes into the woods with Lenora. Lenora doesn't get fully naked you don't see her ever nude. You don't really see anyone nude in this movie except Sandy in pictures. But, and we'll get back to them because we're getting close to the end of the movie. Basically, Lenora and Robert Pattinson's character, they fuck. Eventually, it cuts to Lenora. She is pregnant. She doesn't have a belly, or she doesn't have a baby bump or anything. It's within a few days, but she is pregnant with Robert Pattinson's kid. But Robert Pattinson's character is saying, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I won't fucking raise this bastard child. And eventually, Lenora kills herself. It was an accident, though, because she went to hang herself in the shed, but then she's like, you know what, it'll be fine. And then she goes to take the noose off her neck, but then the bucket slips, and then she hangs herself. So, it's really fucking sad. It's really fucking sad. But it is what it is, I suppose. But yeah, and then, bro, there's so many fucking things we have to talk about. And we're just going to do it one by one because I'm going to explain everyone's story and then we're going to have to go one by one. Because this is going on for so fucking long. There's also a bunch of side plots that don't fucking matter, though. Deputy Lee Bodecker is trying to get elected, I think, for mayor. And he starts, he kills these two dudes. I don't even know why, but he kills them. That's just one of the parts that's confusing. But I'm just going to explain this because this podcast is so fucking long now. So basically what happens is Tom Holland's character finds out that the Reverend is sleeping around with all these girls and then getting them pregnant and then screwing them over and all this shit. So basically, Tom Holland goes to the church with the Reverend. It's just them two. Tom Holland's character walks into the church. He sits down. He says, "Reverend, do you have a moment for a sinner?" And he starts talking about these things as if he's the one who's doing it. But when the camera's looking at Preston's or Robert Pattinson's face, I suppose his character's name is Preston Teagarden. But you can see on Preston Teagarden's face that he knows that Tom Holland knows everything that he's been doing. And eventually, Robert Pattinson's character stands up and he's all like, "Have you been watching me?" And then Tom Holland's character stands up and then aims the gun at Preston's face, or wherever the fuck he was aiming at, I suppose. He aims it at him, and long story short, he ends up shooting him. Because what happens is Preston throws his Bible at him, and then Tom Holland shoots, but Preston still gets hit by a bullet. But then Tom Holland character runs over to Robert Pattinson's character and just fucking and just shoots him 2 more times and then kills him. And then leaves. And also I need to say this real quick. So Robert Pattinson's character's dead. He's not in the movie anymore. Basically, Tom Holland was living with his grandma, obviously with Lenora and Erskine, sorry. Basically what happens is Tom Holland's character, I guess pretty much runs away, but he leaves his grandma a ton of money. I don't know how much. It was like a bunch of like 50s, which I guess was a ton of money back in 1965, but we'll continue. Basically, he ditches town in this car, and eventually the car breaks down, and Tom Holland's character turns into a hitchhiker. Yes. Now you can see where these are interconnecting. Because who were the people that pick up him? Carl and Sandy, yes. And Carl and Sandy pick up Tom Holland's character. And Carl's characters are like, "Yo, you mind if we stop real quick and I take a leak? I'm kind of old. It goes off quite a lot." But when Carl gets out of the car, Tom Holland notices this dude has a gun. And he's all like, "Yo, this is sus. Yo, this shit's sus right now, you know?" But he's not obviously saying this. Like, this is stuff he's like thinking in his head. And eventually, Carl comes back to the car. He's like, "Yo, this is a nice sunset. You mind if I get some pictures?" And Tom Holland's like, "Yeah." And then Carl walks to the back of the car. He's like doing something. And then eventually he walks back to the front. And Carl pulls his gun out. Tom Holland and had already pulled his gun out, and when Carl walks over to Tom Holland's door to like rip him out of the car, Tom Holland kicks the fucking door at Carl, and he like fucking pops Carl 2 times in the stomach. He goes doosh doosh, and then Sandy's like, "Holy shit!" And she pulls a gun out on Tom Holland. But basically, what happened is since Carl is a psychopath, he wanted to be the only person out of Sandy and Carl. He wanted to be the only person who had a loaded gun. So he gave Sandy a gun, but it was filled with blanks. So when Sandy shoots at Tom Holland's character, and then Tom Holland shoots at Sandy, obviously Tom's not going to get hit by anything, so Sandy gets shot right in the fucking neck. So basically Tom Holland kills both Sandy and Carl in this one scene. Eventually, Deputy Lee Bodecker, since he is this brother of Sandy, he starts hunting down Tom Holland. But then he remembers how this is the kid that I picked up that night, which was fucked up. Eventually, these two have a gunfight in the woods. Ultimately, because basically what Tom Holland is doing is he's going back to his old house, to that cross, so that he could properly bury the dog. That's the whole reason that he ran away from home. And the fact that he killed the Reverend. So he puts the dog's bones in this dirt, and then he hears the deputy walking down, he's like cracking sticks, and he hears him, and he takes cover behind a tree, and then they're like talking back and forth about things, and eventually they're like right next to each other, and they're still like talking and stuff. But the deputy fucking like flings around the corner. Cause the deputy has a shotgun, by the way. Deputy flings around the corner, shoots at Tom Holland's character, somehow misses with a shotgun, but Tom Holland hits the deputy in the stomach, and the deputy dies. He proves to the deputy that his sister and her husband were fucking terrible people. Shows him a picture. The deputy ultimately dies, though. And then Tom Holland runs away. He eventually gets picked up by another hitchhiker. And that's the end of the movie. And yeah, like I said, guys, I didn't explain this very well. I definitely started explaining things really fast. So I gave you the basic synopsis. And I pretty much explained the entire movie to you. If you watch the movie, it'll make a shitload more sense. Because obviously, the movie is built correctly. I mean, I didn't explain it really from beginning to end. I more explained it from beginning to end to middle to middle to middle to end to beginning to end. I was fucking all over the place. Hopefully, you guys understand what this movie's about. Like I said, go check it out. It's on Netflix. It's a fantastic film. The Devil All the Time. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. That is my rating. But anyway, guys, thank you for listening to this episode of the Babblemouth Podcast. Episode 13 will be out of fucking in a couple days. I don't know. Is it episode 13? Yeah, it would be episode 13, yeah. Also, one thing I want to quickly say before I end this is the intro music is being taken out of the podcasts, other than the 2 episodes that are already out, or the 2 or 3 that already have it. I think episode 8 and 9 have it. 10 won't have it. 11 won't have it. And then this one isn't going to have it. So the intro music is gone. I'm going to be reworking it because I don't like the way it sounds for the current way. So we're going to remove it and change it. And yeah. So the only episodes that are going to have it are like 7 and 8. Or 8 and 9. 8 and 9 are the only episodes that are going to have intro music. So, or at least that intro song. It's going to change from here on out. At least when I finally get it. But anyway, guys, like I said, thank you for listening to this episode of the Babblemouth Podcast. I will see you guys in the next one.